Average at Best Cornhole. We're back at it. We got a couple series from Goated Bag Co., which is probably the coolest bag company name and
Sure.
coolest way to distinguish your series. We have the Sweetness and the brand new to 2025 Notorious. So my first impression about these Notorious was they are super full, and they are super full. And I was kind of worried I wasn't going to like them. But then I played them a little bit, and surprisingly, I mean, they were very forgiving.
Very.
But it's also a bag that I think is going to be super easy to roll, which, I mean, those two things normally don't coexist together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with the fullness. I very much like the hand feel of that bag. I have to, really work my way to get my fingers to touch together, which is kind of how I gauge, hand feel and the thickness of a bag. And yeah, I love the hand feel on those and the fullness. And now the Sweetness, I mean, they're not super floppy or, they're not as full, right? But, I mean, I still, can get a good grip on these and everything. So I kind of have to work my way to get my fingers together. So
Yeah.
just not quite as floppy as or full as the Notorious. All right, so we're going to get into the speeds in these. First, I'm going to tell you what what Goated rates them as, and then we're going to talk about our experience a little bit. Now, the Sweetness are rated at an 8.4, and the Notorious are rated at a 9.5.
Yes.
We're pretty familiar with the carpet on this Sweetness now, and it plays more of a 5. To us, we feel like it's a 5. And Craig, why don't you tell us? Now, keep in mind, this is a faster rated from Goated. What did you see? How they run on the ramp?
I saw it. I mean, I think this bag is full and heavy, and it was actually slower on the ramp than these Sweetness are, which I was shocked. I had to run them down many times because I didn't believe it almost. Because we always know that this is a 5.
Yep.
Something about that bag makes it a little bit slower.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the fullness, the thickness of it, right? I mean, you'd think just going down the ramp with no spin on it, that mass may help it, but you'll see, in the videos that the Sweetness was the winner on the ramp.
Materials on these, I mean, the slow sides, they're both 2 of the 3 common hybrid materials. The Notorious, this has that hybrid material is made famous by the Guardians. It's kind of like the clone of the R carpet. The Sweetness, it actually has the other one, I like to call it, I guess. We originally sauced Buffalo Sauce. I know they don't make those anymore, but like Wintertides, the brand new Elite Surefires, that's the same slow side as the Sweetness.
Yep. Template on these are, both same medium templates. I don't know how much these materials are going to stretch. They seem to be pretty consistent from when we first started throwing.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to stretch a tad bit. And it almost seems like the Sweetness are a little bit thinner and bigger, just like a hair bigger, I guess. But like we said, that's just because those Notorious are a lot fuller. Fill and flop. So the Notorious, I mean, primarily all flat fill. I think there is it's a mixed fill, I guess, but primarily flat fill. I don't know if there's semi rounds in there or small beads or whatnot. But they are. I mean, they're still full enough that you can, cut and roll them and whatnot. But I think that's why they are so forgiving.
Yeah.
And then the Sweetness, it's definitely more of a mixed feel. Like there's a lot of little round beads in that, especially compared to the Notorious. On to the bagmanship, and I mean, it's a smaller company, right? So you're going to get really good bagmanship out of it. We don't even see seam stretching or anything yet. All the seams, including the closing seam, is tied very nice and tight.
Yeah, no complaints at all. They great quality bag so far, and they feel great. The quality feels, you feel it in your hand. All right, so let's get right into our slide up here, and we're going to start with forgiveness on these. And, we don't want to sound like broken records here, but this Notorious, or, that seems to be the highlight so far for us with this bag is actually how forgiving they are.
Yeah, and my wife and kids love throwing that bag, and trust me, if that bag kicked on them, they wouldn't want to throw it.
Right. Yep, and that's, going with the Sweetness here. Still a pretty forgiving bag, probably about as forgiving as these materials are going to allow a bag to be, right? With, that carpet, that mix of a fill in there and stuff. I know you talked about, your wife, you wanted to get those to play with. She don't like them, right?
Yeah.
Because
she's not a huge fan of those ones.
Right. So, you do get, occasional kicks and stuff. So, Notorious definitely gets the nod for the forgiveness out of these 2.
So we'll discuss the whole bodiness a little bit. And him and I were talking. He really didn't see much of a difference of them, but I kind of thought that the Sweetness had a little bit more whole bodiness to it, probably because it's thinner and those mixed beads, help it fall in. The Notorious, it's kind of full, and sometimes when the bags are this full, it almost seems like there's nowhere for the pellets to move, right? So you're not going to accidentally, land right next to the hole, and then it's just going to decide to fall in. And it could potentially plug. I don't remember seeing it plug, but I mean, you always got to keep that in your mind.
Yeah, to me, fuller bags always, have a greater chance of just plugging up, because there's so much material there. Kind of what Craig said is, you throw that one where you miss a little bit and it grabs and slides around and goes in. This is kind of one that it'll grab and hang on, but it'll stay on the back of the hole, right? And you got to hope that, your opponent knocks it in, or, enough board, shaking happens to get it to go in. But I've seen it to where that one, you'd think it was going to wrap around and fall in, and it would just hang. Collectability on these bags, both are, pretty good at collecting. No real knocks either one. The Notorious is definitely going to get the nod. I know you were.
I was collecting the heck out of that.
You were having a good time.
I was really enjoying that.
So, both very good collectible bags. Again, if you're looking for one that's greater than the other, Notorious, easy nod, I think, between the two. So as far as why we think it's, these are pretty decent at collecting, Notorious better, it's probably because of the fullness. Say you try to put up a blocker and you're off the edge, but all the beads are over to this side on a bag where you just got material. So you could see a bag just going to cut through, fold that up, not grab the bag. When you're a little bit fuller like this bag is, or very full like this bag is,
more chances of
beads. You're not going to get just loose fabric. You're always going to have the chance to grab beads. And I think that's where we start seeing, a big difference in a bag's ability to collect, right?
Moving on to capable shots, and I'm going to make a bold statement here. These Notorious, these bags, you're going to be able to roll the heck out of them. The only reason I know that is after I started throwing these, I'm like, I should probably practice rolling a bag, right? And I actually did roll one of those bags over another bag, backloaded into the hole during practice. I was pretty pumped for myself. I haven't been able to recreate it. I'm still going to keep on trying, though.
I think the sweetness is, I was easy bag to cut, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I could just very minimal change the way I was throwing it, and I could manipulate a right or a left. And the Notorious, I was doing pretty well with, but me personally, I actually think I was having better success at creating a cut shot with the sweetness.
I mean, the sweetness, yeah, you're going to want to run holes with it or cut around stuff.
Yep.
The Notorious, you're going to want to lay blockers and, clean it up, collect them at the end, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And
then learn how to roll it.
I was going to say, if they block your blocker, roll right over it. It's your all-in-one bag.
The video's coming someday. So we're going to get into company information, and he does have a website. It's just www.goatedbagco.com. Obviously, a Facebook page, which is just Goated Bag Co. But the best thing is the Facebook group in my mind, and that's Team Goated Bag Co. If you're not a member, join it. He does raffles, $10. You get in one of those wheels. They call them waffles or something on Facebook. Yeah. $10, you get a brand new set of bags. Plus, there's a Deca League going on in there, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of neat. You play against other people on the internet in the comforts of your own home. So I'm involved in that, and I really enjoy that.
All right, so the availability on these bags seems excellent, right? I don't think we ever really see them out of stock or sold out or anything like that.
Limited designs, though, sometimes, which I think he mentions it on the Facebook or whatever. So sometimes there's only 10. Sometimes there's only one design of it, but yeah, other than that, I mean, all series are available on the website.
Yeah, so no issues there. And the limited, you've been seen mostly on the Notorious right now, right? Or most recently, because
pretty much, the new bag and the Answer. That's his other new bag. So, and yeah, with that availability comes the designs and Goated. I mean, they have some of the best designs in the game, right? I don't know, they're just really cool designs. Everything's unique, vibrant, bright, and just a big fan of them.
Yeah, I am as well. One thing I'm going to mention, and you've heard me in past videos say, I find just the company logos with not much, pretty boring and just whatever. Goated bag actually is, changed my mind on that a little bit because, I really like this bag, the colorway, the vibrancy of it, their logo, the GB with the goat in the middle. It's, I think, super cool. The Wheezy,
simple, but
the Wheezy set that, he has, which you guys will eventually see, like just kind of simple like that, but it just jumps out at you. It's not boring. They do a really good job of keeping it simple, but also, looking good and exciting.
Time for our final thoughts, and we're going to start with cost. Goated Bag Co. They're still getting the 3-bagger. Their price went up a little bit. They're now $90 a set, but you get free shipping. There's discount codes to get you 10% off, so $81 for a set shipped to your house.
Yeah, for the quality of these bags and, what we're learning to do with them, that's honestly not bad,
And we're actually, with these 2025 bags, we're seeing a lot of bag companies are raising their price a little bit. So I think we're trying to shift our scale up a tad too. to go with the market.
Yeah, so we may be a little inconsistent with, videos from months ago and stuff, but we're just trying to adapt to the market there. Again, we're not happy to see the price increase. It wasn't drastic, so hopefully they can find a way to bring those costs back down. But we're still under that $100 mark, so at least a mini thumbs up for us, right?
Or get in the Facebook group and go get you a set for $10. That's the easy way out of that. Yeah, I almost forgot too. I mean, you get a lot of cool freebies sometimes with your orders. Decals, all the bags come in special packaging, so they're double packaged for you. And so there is a little bit of extra. So overall, the Notorious, the bag wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I actually bought it thinking I was going to play in that Deca League because you want a fast bag. All you're doing is putting bags in the hole essentially, and it wasn't. So I can't even use them for that. I was a little bummed out. I didn't really like it until I learned how to play with it, and it's a dirty style game bag that plays flat for you, and it excels at that. So I actually grown to like it quite a bit.
Yeah, overall, I mean, I can't really distinguish which one I'd say I like more than the other. I'd be more than happy if somebody brought these up as a teammate and said, "Hey, we're playing these." I'd be like, "All right, let's go." I really like the sweetness. When I first picked them up, that material I've always kind of been a fan of. So I just was really happy the way it felt in my hand and everything, which gave me confidence. And then, once the Notorious, we started throwing those, started feeling the same about those. So that brings us to the end here today. And as always, if you're going to be average at something, be average at cornhole, do it with goated bags.